Basketball fans, welcome back. So Al Ittihad versus FUS Rabat. So this game had me at the edge of my seat. When I was watching this game live, anything could happen, especially when this game was sent to overtime by Nshezuza's three. I mean, that's the point where I saw like there was a high likelihood that Al Ittihad might get upset, but that didn't happen. Al Ittihad played it cool, and they were able to win this game, and they are off to their semis. So this one was a tough one to watch because on one end you have Al Ittihad coming from Egypt. Egypt as a nation, they have all their teams in their first time they have been in BAL, they've been winning it all. So Zamalek won season one. Season three, Al Ahly from Egypt won it. And you can see right now Al Ittihad, they're on the fray. And right now they are currently sitting with an 8-0 record. Only 2 games away from, if they win their next 2 games, they win the BAL championship. And they have to go through either Petro de Luanda or USM in the semis. So this game against FS Rabat was a near scare because these two teams already met in the Kalari Conference. And in the Kalari Conference, I can say it was relatively, the performance exhibited by FS Rabat was very weak. And they got beat multiple times by the Al Ittihad side. And Al Ittihad did not exhibit any weak points, especially when it came to beating the FS Rabat team. And FS Rabat, they had no, they just had no game plan for Al Ittihad, especially in the Kalari Conference. And they didn't even know their fate until the last game of the Nile Conference, and they were able to sneak into the postseason. So I'm not sure what type of secret sauce that they took, especially in this game, because in the classification game they lost to Creole Star, and they were just eating crow right there. But in this one, they showed a never, and they a never say die attitude. And this was one of those games that I was expecting Al Ittihad to just put them away. They are an eighth. The FUS Rabat are an eighth seed. Al Ittihad was supposed to be focusing on the championship games, the semis and finals. And looking at how the game panned out, especially going to overtime, it might have like sent some alarms to Al Ittihad. Like, you have to take this game seriously. And man, this was a tough one because had they lost this game, I mean, the narrative would have been so different because the Al Ittihad side, they were very perfect, and I didn't want to see them suffer the same fate as a team like Petro de Luanda, what we saw in season three. That would have been that would be very difficult. And they stayed perfect. Joel Wal Ausil had a double double of 16 and 11, and FS Rabat forcing overtime. That was something that I can't say I didn't expect it because when I saw Nisizuza shoot that 3-pointer, I saw the ball arcing, and when it went in, I just remembered how Obadiah Noel, sank that deep three on my Nairobi Thunder team to win the last game of the Nile Conference. So I just remembered that, and all those clutch shots just go in for some reason. I'm not sure. No shot like that close in a few seconds. Clanks. They're all it's just nothing but net in there, and this one was a tough one. And if Al Ittihad had lost this game, I mean, the tables would have turned, and either the US Monastir will have made it back to the finals because there was no way FUS Rabat will be able to beat US Monastir. So it will have been a tough one. But all in all, game wise, this was a fun game to watch, and I really enjoyed I really enjoyed the whole flow of the game, and things were very high octane at the time. And even looking at the main contributors for both teams, you could see Lual Ausil. He didn't have a very strong game, but he hit some very clutch shots down the stretch of the game, especially in overtime. We had that huge clutch layup, but it was mostly team basketball because Calvinales hit those clutch free throws in overtime. Majok Deng was there. He had 15 points. Calvinales 16. Lual Ausil 16. Mostly it was a team-oriented basketball. Anas Mahmoud did not have a lot of he didn't make some serious noise in this game, but the load was taken off by the guy because by Lual Ausil. Ashwell, because Ashwell is the BAL Defensive Player of the Year and MVP. So him being on the squad, it was a huge addition for their Al Ittihad side, because when I saw Al Ittihad add Ashwell, I felt like this might be that all-in run, and maybe the only thing that is needed for the Al Ittihad side is to strengthen that front court, and they actually did that. So Ashwell was great. Kyle Vinales was great, especially being a clutch guy down the stretch, especially in the overtime, knocking every single free throw that came. He was good. And on the other side, if you look at FS Rabat, Jonathan Jordan, he was the key guy that led the comeback. He led the comeback for FS Rabat, and he's a guy that never backed down at all. And he was that guy that was so reliable. And he has been like that, and you could see even the flashes of his play even from last year translating to this year, because FUS, even despite making the playoffs, they didn't have like strong wins like that, because they beat a Stadimalian team that went 0-6. They lost to Al Ittihad and Rivers Hoopers twice, so they were 2-4. And this one, the way they flipped the script, had they figured out how to play the Al Ittihad side in the conference games, and they're able to play them like this, they might have been able to even grab a win or two. They would have, but hey, I mean, it was a very entertaining game. Then Nesri Zuza with that clutch 3, I mean, that was epic. So he finished the game with 11 points, but he was able to get those clutch buckets. He was able to hit that clutch bucket down to force the game to overtime. So yeah, I mean, this was a very good game. Omar Abada, he led his assists with 6 assists. Then Sofani Kodu, he had 8 rebounds. So this was an epic game, because FS Rabat, even despite the loss, they were the most efficient team, and they shot 46% from the field, 47% on 2-point field goals, and 43% from downtown. So they had less attempts from 3, but able to capitalize on it, as opposed to Al Ittihad. They had more attempts, and they only managed to sink in 10 free throws, and they are shooting at a 30% clip, something that I don't expect from a North African team. So yeah, I mean, it is what it is there. So the Al Ittihad side, I can say they won this game from the free throw line, because they were 18 of 20 from the line. They shot at 90% from the free throw line. So late in the game, especially in overtime, they were just drawing fouls and getting to the line, especially with the tendency of FUS Rabat fouling. They really took advantage of that in overtime, and also hitting clutch buckets down the stretch. That was the most important thing. And the experienced poise, not even the team, but the experienced players, they're very poised. They understood the assignment. They didn't want to rush things. And had they made any blunders in the overtime, they would have lost this game. But they were very composed, and you could see the veteran experience that is on the team. They understand what to do, and they were able to win this game. So this game, both teams were tied in assists with 21 assists, steals and blocks for FUS Rabat. They led in that. And honestly, if you ask me, this might have been that game where Al Ittihad might have lost. Statistically, they were not the best in this one, but because of like the luck that they had a bit down the stretch of games, especially in overtime, few baskets here and a couple of fouls drawn and going to the line and hitting some clutch free throws, they're able to escape this scare, because this was a scare. This game, 86-83, being the final score, man, it was a tough one. And FUS Rabat had that strong fourth quarter where they dropped to 24 points. I mean, that was tight. And also, even on overtime, the Al Ittihad side at least were able to score 12 points in overtime, because as the game went to overtime, the game kind of slowed down. It was much more calculated, and the teams, they're monitoring each other on who's gonna break fast. Because at some point there was one, it was a bit of a seesaw, because at some point in the game there were like 11 lead changes, and the lead, you couldn't know who's gonna win at any given time. So yeah, I mean, but FUS Rabat had they had many turnovers in this one. They had 16 turnovers. I mean, they led in steals, and that's just about it. Because looking at the Al Ittihad side, they led in total rebounds. They had 25 points from turnovers, 16 fast break points, 22 second chance points, and 34 bench points. But FUS Rabat were closing in closely, and I was very excited to see Alitia try to stay in this game and try to stay alive. And somewhat looked like FUS Rabat were playing like the top seeded team at some point, at some stretch of the game. But Alitia were able to stay composed. And given given that situation where they almost had a near scare, I don't think it will ever happen again, especially in front of 3,123 people. I don't think this we're going to see any close game from Alitia because this scares will change up how we see how we're going to see the team moving forward. So George King, he was also another swingman for Alitia. He didn't have a good game in this one. In 24 minutes of play, only had 7 points. He was 2 of 6. So he had a very quiet game in this one. He occasionally had very good games, especially when it came to the conference games. But hey, I mean, anything can happen in the BAL postseason. Yeah, but this one was a nail biter. I must say, I was on the edge of my seat. I was almost losing it, and luckily enough, I didn't bang the table when I was watching the games because this game will have gone sideways very fast. And looking at how the tempo of the game was, you could see at some point the never say die attitude from FS Rabat was the difference. And you would have even expected that this would have been a walkover game for the Ittihad side. But Ittihad, somewhat they had an off game, but they were still able to recover. And hopefully in this 2 days span that they have before the semis, they can be able to get some rest. They can be able to prepare for the semis, especially they don't know who they're going to match up against, either the Petro de Luanda or US Monastir. If it's US Monastir, which is my pick, I feel like there's a high likelihood it's going to be a game that is going to be very tough. Much more tough than the FS Rabat game because one thing that I've noticed is every single time North African teams clash, the games just get difficult every single time. And you can see FS Rabat, or they are a Moroccan team, Alitia are from Egypt, North Africa. Those guys play very good basketball. And now, if the Alitia side match up against a US Monastir team, this game might be the most difficult one that Alitia has played because US Monastir, they're not backing down. They dominated the tough Sahara conference. They had a 4-2 record. And if they're able to make it past Petro, which is something that is highly likely to happen, I mean, it's going to be another fireworks game. And also on the other side, when you have the Al Ahly Tripoli, it's either APR or the Rivers Hoopers, and that was a game that is very tough to call. And because you can't count APR out or the Rivers Hoopers out, at this point, I can't say I'm very sure. But if I'm going to give a nod to a team, I'm going to give the APR team. I feel like APR can be able to beat the Rivers Hoopers. Hopefully they can. Hopefully Rivers Hoopers can prove me wrong. But I pick APR on that one because I feel like with a healthy Diarra and the way they play, there's a high likelihood they can be able to win this game. So I pick APR to make it to the semis to match up against Al Ahly Tripoli in a rematch because these two teams met in the Nile Conference. And on the other bracket, we have Al Ittihad going up against US Monastir, and that will be a North African derby. It will be Tunisia versus Egypt, a matchup that has been there for the ages, both in the national team level and in the club level. So I'm waiting on those matchups, and it is what it is. So do drop me your comments down in the comment section down below. I know these uploads have been I've not been releasing them quite early, but hey, I mean, I sometimes I just take some time to check out, the stats, check out the film against, like I'm not missing out on anything I would have missed, and it also just keep track on 1, 2, 3 things here and there, and also yeah, all that great stuff. So I'm gonna see you guys in the next one. Peace out.